मोदकारी पलपन विसरे नहीं जो विसारी जुगल चरण सोल चिन्ह जेह नजर समीप रहो हमारी एह। श्री हरि कृष्ण महाराज ની જય, ઘનશ્યામ મહારાજ ની જય। Supreme Lord Entity, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, the path maker to our liberation, Pujyapad Guruji, and all of you devotees who are watching, my humble Jai Swaminarayan. Today I have a question for you. Just imagine the world without any rules. Imagine the world without any moral codes of conducts. What would it be like? Just think. Maybe it's our future in 100 or 200 or 300 years. But just think, without rules, how would man function? Well, we can imagine that it would not be a good sight. We can definitely see that even if there are rules in society right now, man still behaves outside of those rules. That means that if there were no rules, then just think about it. It would be chaos, you can say. And the whole world would be burning. There would be crime everywhere, all the time. There would be illegal actions like drug usage, alcoholism, all the time. But since there are rules, man abides by them. At least most of them do. For any man or woman, rules are necessary to live a happy and healthy life. Without rules, or you can say moral conducts, man is not considered man anymore. He is considered an animal. Why? Because animals, they don't follow any rules. In the same way, if man doesn't follow any rules, what's the difference? So, moral codes are the foundation of humans and society to function on a proper and stable manner, you can say. With rules, people function. With rules, people function very well. And without rules, there's chaos. To propagate this very principle, Lord Swaminarayan has laid down the 5 basic moral codes of both householders and saints. Today we'll talk about the 5 moral codes of conducts for householders. They're called the PanchVartam, or 5 moral codes of conducts, translated. To make proper and efficient devotees, Shashtriji Maharaj has made 5 moral codes of conduct. You can say that if you look at the Christian religion, they would be called like the 10 Commandments, pretty much things not to do in society or anywhere. Things that if you do or if you do break, codes that if you break, then you will be unhappy and your life would go down the wrong way. So that's why Shashtriji Maharaj has established 5 basic moral codes. Let's name them. First is theft. Second, meat. Third, alcohol. Fourth, adultery. And fifth is insecured food. I'll explain all these to you briefly at first, and then we'll go in depth with each one. First and foremost, theft. Shashtriji Maharaj says one should never steal. That's a code of conduct he has made. If one wants to be happy, one must not steal. Second, one must never consume meat. This is such a big debate in society now. Meat, people who eat meat versus people who are vegetarians. Each other, they oppose each side, saying that, why don't you eat meat? You need the protein. And the other person says, why do you eat meat? It's the wrong thing to do. But who's right? We'll find out today. And what are the consequences of eating meat? We'll find out. Third is alcoholism. One should never drink alcohol. Even in the United States right now, there have been many, you can say camps, sessions, seminars made for people to let go of alcoholism because it's such a bad habit. And due to this, many suffer. But Maharaj just made a rule when he was here 230 years ago saying that one should not drink alcohol. I'm sure he thought of it before making the rule. That's why the people who do follow this rule are happy. Fourth, one should abstain from adultery. And fifth, insecure food. This is a little difficult to understand, but what Bhagwan is saying is one should never consume food from improper or insecure sources. I'll explain that in brief later on. But first and foremost, by following these 5 rules, what is the benefit? What do we get out of it? By doing anything, we always see that, or we always think that if there is a good benefit, sure, I'll do it. And we always think that what is the benefit? Well, behind following these 5 moral codes, there are great benefits. Naming them, first and foremost, Bhagwan Swaminarayan has laid these rules down. So, by following these rules, he becomes pleased on us. The second factor, one's senses and mind are purified. The third benefit, one becomes happy not only in this life, socially, financially, in every type of way, but also attains the bliss of God in the life after. And fourth, the benefit, you can say it's not so much, but it's omni-beneficial, meaning you don't have to be a devotee to follow these 5 rules, but by following them, Bhagwan Swaminarayan in the Shikshapatri guarantees that one will become happy in this world. Obviously, the root of everything is happiness. People work hard. People get great degrees like doctorates or become lawyers or CEOs of big companies. All these things are just to become happy. People indulge in the worldly pleasures. People buy fancy cars. They eat nice, tasty food. They wear nice, fashionable clothes. All these are reasons for people seeking happiness. But people are led in the wrong direction because of the lack of knowledge. And due to that, people suffer in the end. People even suffer right now. If one is breaking the rules of any of these 5 that I have told you, if one doesn't suffer at that time, he will suffer in the future. But it is guaranteed by the law of karma. So, moving on, let's go in depth with one by one each and every moral code to understand it better. First and foremost, stealing or theft. I'm going to define it briefly because there's many people just think that taking something is stealing, but this is a more sharper view. This is a more in-depth view I'm going to give you. So stealing or theft means to snatch, swindle, possess, or use any of the objects like money, grains, ornaments, jewels, clothes, vehicles, land, wealth, fruits, or flowers, secretly or against the will of the owner. Even the smallest thing as fruits or flowers, if they don't belong to you, and if you take them, it's called stealing or theft. Even big objects like vehicles, land, or wealth, if you steal, it's called stealing. I mean, if you take it without the permission of the owner, it's called stealing. So a question comes to our minds that why do people steal? After someone does something like that, they always, a witness or the person outside looking in, he or she always wonders, why does this person steal? Why does he continue doing this habit? Well, there are a couple of reasons. There are many, many reasons, but the main reasons are greed, attraction, temptation, and simply they don't have the item. Due to that, they want it, but they can't afford it. So they steal, whoever it may be. This is the reason. But in the Shikshapatri, Shree Maharaj has really emphasized and stated that none shall ever commit theft, even for the sake of performing an act of dharma. Meaning, even if you have to steal for the right purpose, even if it's benefiting someone else, you should not steal. Imagine how much emphasis Shree Maharaj is putting on not stealing at all. I mean, you can see many, many disadvantages, obviously, in society. People who steal and they get caught, they lose their reputation in society with their family, their loved ones. They're also morally weakened. Their mind becomes unstable. They have a loss of respect by others, and one's purity is really destroyed. Due to that, one's life really goes in the wrong direction just by a small mistake. Imagine if you didn't make the mistake, and imagine if you do make a mistake of stealing. At first it may feel good, but then when you get caught stealing, you may end up in jail for life, or you may even end up at a different, worse situation than jail. So that's why Bhagwan has looked at all these factors and has made a rule in his Shikshapatri, and also has made a code of conduct for all his devotees to follow, that one should never steal ever. But we can say that just taking something that doesn't belong to us, that's just physically. But you can also steal mentally too. It's kind of like a concept that I want to go over with you. Even thinking about stealing, you haven't done it physically with your body, but even if you're thinking about it, that is also called stealing, but it's in a mental aspect. To renounce gross or subtle forms of stealing through thought, action, and speech, and to remain constantly aware, is the real observance of avoiding stealing. Now, there's two aspects we want to talk about. I just want to give you examples so it's clear. First and foremost, physical stealing. That's simple. Suppose you go to a shop and you steal candy. That's physically stealing something, or some kind of electronic item. Yes, that's stealing. Or, I got an example of real life just a couple days back. A devotee came and told us that there was a major heist in Brussels airport 2 or 3 days ago where $50 million in diamonds were stolen in the airport by a couple of people disguised as police officers. There were a total of 120 packages, and they stole those diamonds in less than 170 seconds. That's less than 3 minutes. They stole $50 million worth of diamonds at Brussels airport in Europe. Now, this is called physical stealing. They stole and they got away with it. The police have not caught them. Yet, we can see that it happens in the world. On and off, on and off. There's no change. Some get caught, some don't get caught. Some get caught in the future. Some will never get caught. It all depends on the person's actions, how he behaves, and how he goes about things. This other side is the mental side. If you're a shopkeeper and you overprice customers even more than you make a profit, double, that's also called stealing. Because if you look at the other person's situation, that person may not be able to afford it. Sure, you need to make a profit. That's understandable. A $1 or $2 or $3 profit, whatever it is, whatever the margin is. But when you go beyond that limit, just for greed, it's also considered stealing. Or to overwork others, suppose you're a manager or a CEO, to overwork others and not pay them the fair amount, that's also called stealing. You're not doing it physically, but mentally you are stealing their money, you can say. They've worked for it, yet you're not giving them the proper amount or the proper wages. So that's why, by looking at this concept of stealing or theft, Shree Maharaj has made a moral conduct for all his devotees that none of my devotees should steal. Moving on, let's look at our second concept. One should never consume meat. Shree Maharaj says in the Shikshapatri, none shall ever eat meat, even if it's an offering in sacrifice. Verse number 15. Consuming meat affects the physical, mental, and spiritual aspect of life. This is a big debate right now in the world, ongoing. Eating meat versus not eating meat. People who eat meat, they say that if I don't eat meat, and if I only eat vegetables, then I won't get the proper protein my body needs, and I'll be physically weak. But that's not true. We can even say researchers have found out that vegetarians live longer than meat eaters. It's been proven by science. But today I want to go on the scientific view of why Bhagwan has laid down this rule, this moral code of not eating meat. So first and foremost, it increases diseases in your body. By eating meat, there's 10 types of cancers that are caused. Heart disease is caused, tuberculosis, mad cow disease, E. coli, etc. So I went back in history and I found some interesting fact on heart disease. Now, during World War II, when Germany occupied Norway, it was forced to stop meat availability for its citizens in the country by Germany. Death rate from heart disease during these years dropped dramatically. After the war, when the Norwegians resumed eating meat, the death rate increased correspondingly. Same thing in Britain and Switzerland during World War II. What does this show us? That when the Germans took meat off of the market for the Norwegians, death rate actually decreased for heart disease particularly. And again, when Germany backed off and when Norway was free again, and when they started eating meat and consuming meat again, then heart disease jumped back up. This proves that a major cause of heart disease is in eating meat. Also another example, mad cow syndrome. Raw meat contains certain viruses which cannot be destroyed even while cooking, which also causes a number of diseases. Scientists have found that when an animal is slaughtered, it is frightened and certain hormones are released from its glands into the blood. By consuming such meat, which are full of toxins, the consumer develops various mental problems. Meaning, by doing that, by eating such meat where toxins are released into the animal's blood, the toxins remain inside the meat. And then, even after cooking, those toxins, when consumed by that person, there's many diseases that occur and you mentally become unstable. That's the negative part. This is all science. We haven't even gotten into the spiritual part of why one shouldn't eat meat. But even science proves nowadays that this is unhealthy for human bodies. Let's even look at animals. Meat-eating animals are called carnivores. Plant-eating animals are called herbivores. Now, carnivores are, for example, tigers, lions, leopards, hyenas. If you look at them, they look restless, angry, furious, and violent. Versus herbivores, such as elephants, giraffes, zebras. All these are plant or grass-eating animals. If you look at them, they look peaceful, quiet, and calm. This is all because of their diet. One eats meat, one doesn't eat meat. Due to that, their behavior tremendously changes. So my question was, if behavior changes with animals, then don't you think behavior changes with humans as well? Of course it does. And due to that, many humans become more violent. Many humans become more angry because of this factor. Now, some disadvantages I have to point out, because only with them one can understand that Bhagwan has made this rule for the benefit of the human race. Not because he despises them or not because he hates them, but because he loves each and every one of them and he accepts them as his children. But let's see some disadvantages. First and foremost, it causes mental problems. And also lust, anger, jealousy, hatred, all these vicious natures also arise in the human who consumes meat. Also, it destroys the purity of mind. And the worst part, the meat eaters, after eating and consuming, they never become satisfied because they feel that the advantage is that it tastes good. This is the best excuse they have. Just look at how many disadvantages, look at how many diseases occur from it. Look at how many negative points there are. Yet, the person can only say that it tastes good and it's good for my body. Yet, even if it may provide protein to your body, that's the only thing it provides. But against that, there's 10 other problems that it also causes that one cannot see until it's too late. So after considering and weighing all these factors, Shree Maharaj has stated in the Shikshapatri and various scriptures, none shall ever consume meat. And by the grace of Bhagwan, all the devotees who follow these codes of conducts, they're happy right now. And they'll be happy in the future. And beyond this world, when they leave this body, they'll be happy as well. But many cannot see that why are these rules made? They question because they lack knowledge. They don't understand that Bhagwan, even if all these things weren't around right now, the research, the science to find all these things out, Bhagwan still knew it for the future. That's why 230 years ago, he established these rules for householders and for saints and everyone, that one should never consume meat and one should never steal and all the other three. factors. For right now, we're only going to discuss these 2 factors, but for next week, we'll finish the 3 factors. So that would be our lecture on the PanchVartam. So I strongly encourage you to think about, not to question or doubt, but to think about why Bhagwan has made these codes of conducts. It's only for our benefit. But if one can see this, then one would definitely follow his rules. Saying this, my humble Jai Swaminarayan. Hare Krishna Maharajani Jai. Sri Patim Sridharam Saradeveswaram Bhakti Dharmatmanam Vasudevam Hare Madhavam Kesavam Kamadam Karanam Sri Swaminarayanam Nilakandham Bhaje. Hare Krishna Maharajani Jai.